As expected, lawsuit number 24 filed on Monday against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. It is the second lawsuit filed in less than a week after more than a year went by with no new litigation instituted against Deshaun Watson. Now, the difference between last week and this week is significant. And if you're watching the program, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you can read the statement. I don't need to read it to you. The difference is significant. The person who sued last week, they expected it. They knew about it. The woman who filed last week's lawsuit did an extended podcast interview last August during which she detailed her allegations, the same allegations that made their way into the document that was submitted last week. Yesterday's plaintiff, Chris, and this is significant, and we became aware of this when Rusty Hardin, who represents Deshaun Watson, issued the following statement on Monday evening. We are unable to respond to the new lawsuit at this time. Our legal team has not had time to investigate this new filing and had not heard her name until today. Deshaun continues to deny that he did anything inappropriate with any of the plaintiffs. I think it's critical and potentially extremely significant that the person who sued yesterday was someone that they did not even know about. Now, it's possible, and this is where I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole of parsing language, but language is important, and lawyers dabble in language. That's their stock and trade. That's what they do. How you say things, how you write things, what you say, what you imply. I read Hardin's statement to possibly mean, they didn't know her name, but through the proper and aggressive questioning of Deshaun Watson, they knew maybe there was somebody else out there who could make a claim. Because one of the things they would have done / should have done over the past 15 months, Chris, is make sure they're aware of the full universe of individuals who could have any issue, any problem with Deshaun Watson. Now, the problem is he denies doing anything wrong, so is he going to flag for them?
No, that's the problem.
There was an interaction. Wait, I can't remember her name.
With that 107th masseuse, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so where does the line end?
Well, that's right. That's right. And that's what should be terrifying to Watson's legal team. Because if they didn't know, not just the name, but the general circumstance that there was another one out there floating around that maybe we needed to be worried about, but we weren't sure, if they had no idea, if this was completely off the radar screen, how many others? And that was the thing in the lawsuit, page 1, that really struck me. The allegation made in this latest lawsuit that Deshaun Watson found, to use the words of the paperwork drafted by the lawyer who represents all 24 of these individuals, so is aware of the evidence that's been developed. Random strangers, that's Tony Busby's quote, found on Instagram to give him massages more than 100 times. We knew about the 22. We knew about the 18 massage therapists who vouched for him. That was 40. And I remember saying a year ago, we had the conversation.
Yeah, 40? Who the hell
Why
has
do you need
40?
40?
Yeah, who the hell
Well,
has
now
that?
it's more than 100.
Yeah.
According to the allegations, page 1, jumping off the page. Based on the evidence, presumably, that has been... Now, look, I'm going to give Tony Busby the benefit of the doubt and say he's not throwing around this stuff falsely or recklessly. And, hey, look, if Rusty Hardin had anything to say about it, if that was false, I'm just thinking of this now. If that more than 100 was false, that should have been in last night's statement. We don't know the name of the individual until today, and we can't respond to her lawsuit, but we do need to say this. The allegation made in page 1 that Deshaun Watson has found random strangers on Instagram for more than 100 massages is categorically, unequivocally, and completely and totally false. That's kind of an important statement to make if it is false. If it is false.
Yeah. Which I would think it's not, because they didn't address. I mean, to me, that would be the most obvious thing to address there. If that was false, you squash that, which again would lead me back to they're not exactly sure how many women or where the line ends, and that's where it's scary. I mean, really, I don't know. Can it get worse right now? It's one big blow to Deshaun Watson and Rusty Hardin after another here as of late. Things aren't getting better; they're getting worse. Right. And I was already at the point where I don't know, Mike, does this even matter? Do you think this really piles on and the NFL was like, whoa, we were going to make it you do? You think this does matter?
Here's why.
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
I think that this The events of the last week have created a negative turn in the court of public opinion.
100%.
Not that it was a great situation for Deshaun Watson anyway.
Right.
Between last week's lawsuit, the Rusty Harden justification of happy endings,
real
seeking
sports,
happy endings,
right,
and then you throw on the 24th lawsuit filed by somebody they didn't even know of, and the details are graphic.
They are.
Of this lawsuit. Graphic. You put all that together, public opinion trending against Deshaun Watson even more than it was. That makes it important from the league's perspective because at the end of the day, the personal conduct policy is not some sort of in-house justice system. It's not about justice. It's about coming up with consequences that match the expectations of the public. It is a PR tool. 98% of the employers in this country do not care what happens between an individual and the criminal or civil justice system. It's not their business. I've said this before. I counseled employers when I was practicing law. You can't hold this against them. This has nothing to do with you. This isn't some crime that he committed on your property, on your premises, against your interests. You're not the victim. No one was victimized on your premises. This is his private life. You can't invade the private life of this person. Well, in the NFL, you can because the union has allowed it and because it's all dependent on people giving money, giving time, giving attention to the product. So the shield has to hold accountable individuals who engage in misconduct away from work. That's what we've evolved to. And that's why it's a PR tool more than anything else.
Right.
And that's why, Chris, to answer your question, it is relevant that this has taken a turn in a negative way. Because at the end of the day, the league is going to fashion a punishment that is aimed at balancing what the league thinks the public wants. And what happened 8 years ago? They didn't go far enough with Ray Rice, and the commissioner almost lost his job over it. They are not going to fail to go far enough with anyone else on this commissioner's watch.
I wouldn't think so. And you know, to your point, Mike, and I think you said this a little bit in text message last night, so I'm not trying to steal it or whatever, but just something I hadn't really thought about. You know, you bring up the Ray Rice, that issue there. I would almost think you have to come down hard if you're the NFL here, just in case, like, you know, and you said this in text last night. Okay, we gave a suspension, and now we've got, you know, who knows, 10 more lawsuits and some other graphic details to where I think you would have to, you know, err on being strict or tough or hard, however you want to call it, on Deshaun Watson for just the just-in-case scenario of, oh, wait, there could be more. We don't know where this all ends. I would think. Am I wrong to think that?
Well, and I think that was a point that Pete made on the text chain.
Is
not
it Pete? Okay, fine. I'll give Pete some credit. He's not as dumb as he looks.
and actually, you know, the NFL waits and waits until it has to act. And lately I've been saying, hey, at some point you have to act. Well, you know what? The fact that they waited through Memorial Day weekend, it's worked to their benefit. Because if they had announced a proposed punishment the Friday going into Memorial Day weekend like I thought they would, that would have happened without the benefit of lawsuit 23, lawsuit 24, Rusty Harden off the rails, frankly, on Friday with the happy ending justification. Because now, and look, I don't know what's going on at 345 Park Avenue, but I do know this. There are people in that building who believe Deshaun Watson should not set foot on a football field until these cases are resolved, even if that means paid leave. Well, now, if part of what's going on is Roger Goodell's trying to harmonize the various competing interests and the people who are saying you may be going too far and the people saying you're not going nearly far enough, now you've got some ammunition to maybe push this toward stronger suspension.
Right.
Or and Chris, here's it's gotten so bad that I asked the league yesterday, and let me back up. Back in late March, the commissioner at a press conference following the league meetings seemed to take the possibility of paid leave off the table. He basically said, if we're going to do anything at this point, we're just going to suspend him.
Right.
There's no need for paid leave. Well, you know what? After lawsuit 23, the Rusty Harden justification for happy endings monologue, and then lawsuit 24, I asked the league yesterday, is there any chance that paid leave is back on the table? and they declined comment. And it's like, oh, come on, if the commissioner's going to talk about paid leave in March, why can't you answer my question about it? It's fine, decline comment, because it implies.
I
don't
said
know
something.
What it implies.
It implies that
Paid,
they're thinking about it, maybe.
The commissioner said, all they'd have to say is, the commissioner said what he said back in March.
Exactly.
There's no reason to alter that. They could have said that.
Right.
They said, no, we declined comment. The matter is still under review.
Do you think
updates? The matter is still under review.
So you think this delays the NFL investigation? At some point, I feel like they just got to like. I mean, you just go with the year and you go. The year's hard, and we'll see where it goes.
I am putting back on the radar screen for my purposes of monitoring, assessing, and analyzing. I am putting back on the radar screen the possibility, because if they're not going to tell me. If they're not going to tell me what the commissioner said in late March still stands, I am putting back on the radar screen the possibility that they're just going to put him on paid leave until these cases are over. Because there are people in the league office who believe that's the proper outcome. And maybe what's happened from last week to yesterday is enough to give those people who surely didn't just go sit in a corner and shut up.
Right.
When the commissioner said, we're probably not going to do paid leave. This gives them reason to stand up and say, Mr. Commissioner, this is the reason why we need to put this guy on paid leave. We don't know what else is going to happen. We need to wait until this is all over. And, here's the other side of it, too, Chris.
How does paid leave affect Cleveland? They
don't. They have to pay him.
Right.
They have to pay him, and he ain't playing.
It's almost like they should do it. It'd be like, well, this is what you signed up for. You got to pay. That's a part of it, actually, I like.
Yeah.
You wanted to take that risk. Here you go.
You get paid full value. The only way out of it is to cut the guy, unless his contract is fully guaranteed for the next 5 years.
A little bit of a problem.
So the other thing that it would do as a practical matter, and I don't know that the NFL wants to feel like it's in the business of forcing a guy to settle a case that maybe he doesn't want to settle, but I think back to last year when the Dolphins are ready to trade for Deshaun Watson, and he's willing to pay $100,000 each to the 22 plaintiffs at the time to resolve the cases so Miami will complete the trade. He was willing to do it. I'm completely innocent. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'll pay the $2.2 million if it means playing football again. Okay, fine. If he gets put on paid leave, what do you think his reaction is going to be? Hey, Rusty, we got to make these bleepity bleep 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 cases go away right now. Well, Deshaun, it's going to be a lot more expensive than last year. I don't care. A million a case. It sounds ridiculous to say $1 million a case when they could have gone for $100,000 a case, 18 of them, or when last April they could have settled them for peanuts. But Rusty Harden wanted to have a clause in there that allowed him to tell the world they only paid peanuts to settle the cases. Good Lord. But if they put him on paid leave, that's when Deshaun Watson says, well, I made $10 million last year and I didn't have to even lift a finger. I'm getting $230 million over the next 5 years. Maybe now it's time to end all these cases. So they put him on paid leave. I think there would be a renewed interest on the part of Deshaun Watson to settle the case. Of course, it gets more expensive because Tony Busby's going to be smart enough to figure out the urgency.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he's going to be put on paid leave. But I'm putting it back on the radar screen. If I give the NFL a fair chance to tell me that what Roger Goodell said in March at a press conference is still applicable, and they say no comment, I'm putting it back on the radar screen. I think paid leave's back in play.
I don't disagree with you that I would think it's back in play by the lack of no comment either, because like you said, it'd be easy to go, no, we've commented on this, and there was the answer. That's all they had to say. But wow. I guess, paid leave's not going to look good either, right? Wouldn't you think that public perception and people are going to be very hard on the NFL if that's the case, or they go, wait, you're going to pay this guy?
But that's why they have paid leave. Taking the heat out of the hot kitchen. Get this guy out of sight, out of mind. He's not around. We don't want him on the football field. We don't want the announcers to have to mention that the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns is the subject of 24. Why? But why? Why? I think people would be, it's good that they put him on paid leave.
Well, I
guess what you're saying is he shouldn't be getting paid.
Exactly. I think a lot of people are going to go, wait, this guy's done all this wrong and mistreated all these players, and he gets $46 million. He gets a $2 million check every other week. That's where I just feel like, again, it's
he's already gotten $45 million. Remember, his salary this year is only $1 million.
Right.
It's only $1 million.
Right.
But I think if it's communicated properly and conveyed and explained to the fans, as we will do if and when it happens, this is just This is just the step that they're taking while they wait and see what happens with the civil cases. And then he will face proper discipline, an unpaid suspension after. See, that's the problem for the Browns. Let's say he spends all of 2022 on paid leave. And let's say by some fluke of the justice system, all 24 of these cases are settled by 2023. I think the other reality is they're not tried. They are resolved through a settlement. Then in 2023, that's when the unpaid suspension happens. I mean, Chris, there's a possibility, and this is spitballing, folks. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But let's say he ends up spending all of 2022 on paid leave and all of 2023 on unpaid leave. That's not impossible either.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't I wouldn't sit there and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. With where we're at, current climate of the country, the look for the league. I think the fact of, as we've discussed that, you say what you want. I don't think the NFL was happy with the Browns and this contract. I think other owners are going to get in the ear of Roger Goodell and let him know that Jimmy Haslam and company are stupid, and that made the league look bad in a lot of ways. It wouldn't shock me. I don't expect that, but it certainly, I'm with you. It's on my radar to think that it's a possibility for sure.
And look, here's the reality. Because when Antonio Brown was sued for sexual assault and rape just days after he signed with the Patriots in 2019, and the Patriots did nothing about it, there was a concern, and it's a fair concern. Anybody can get sued at any time. You can get sued at any time for anything by one person. All it takes is one person with whatever the filing fee is. It used to be $150 here locally when I used to represent individuals. $150 filing fee. I'm sure it's more than that now. But whatever it is to start the case, it's all it takes. You can make whatever allegations you want. They don't have to be true. It's advisable for the lawyers representing the plaintiffs that they at least do some due diligence to make sure that the allegations are founded in some semblance of actual fact. But the point is, anybody can be sued by one person. What's the number where that, anybody can be sued by one person thing goes out the window? What is it? Is it 100? Is it 50? Is it 24? I think it's less than 24 where anybody can file a lawsuit thing goes away. And that's the other side of this, too. They've been taking aim at Tony Busby. He's the one. He's the Pied Piper that pulls all these weak claims together. In yesterday's statement, they could have taken another shot at this is just another example of Tony Busby advancing his agenda. See, I think they're scared of this one.
I think that
I really do.
Yeah.
They didn't know the person's name. They possibly didn't know about the allegations. And the allegations, I'm not going to get into the details. The allegations are graphic and troubling, the most of any that I'm aware of from these 24 cases. So I think they're scared right now. And, Chris, here's another thing to be afraid of if you're Deshaun Watson. If they didn't know this person even existed before yesterday, well, she could file a criminal complaint now, too. We could have grand jury number 3. And if they're going to put all this stock in, the grand jury didn't do anything about these cases, so that means we should all shut up and move on, which is completely illogical. If another grand jury takes up this one and decides to indict him, that's the next thing I'm going to try to find out. Is this person going to has this person made, or will this person make a criminal complaint? Because that reopens a can of worms that we thought was dumped empty when the grand juries did what they did earlier this year.
Yeah. I just can't believe we are where we are. And I really kind of thought we were towards the end of the stories and stuff like that, and just the last month has been a barrage of really once every few days of another blow to Rusty Hardin and Deshaun Watson. And yeah, I don't know. Again, either it's just, I guess, reaffirming my thought that this will be a full year suspension. I really actually think I will be shocked if it's not a full year now at this point.
Or a full year of no football, paid or unpaid.
Sure, right.
No football for Deshaun Watson. One other thing, too, and you can read the story at PFT. There is a way, potentially under the contract that Deshaun Watson signed, that this 24th individual puts his guaranteed money at peril. I'm not going to get into the legal weeds, and ultimately the document letter, the side letter between the Browns and Watson that details the exception to the default language that would potentially put his $230 million guarantee at risk. We don't know what that says, but the language of that letter goes a long way, potentially, toward including or excluding this 24th allegation. But if they didn't know about this person and they didn't write that letter broadly enough to encompass anybody who may came out of the weeds, they got a problem, an even bigger problem on top of the problems that they already have. And I still feel bad for Browns fans. I said this at the beginning. And my niece, who is a very ardent and zealous Browns fan, she didn't like that they traded for him. I said, would you feel better about it if he resolved all these cases right now? And she said yes. And that's what should have happened. We said it at the time. We shouted it. March 25th, the day of the trade. We shouted, settle the cases now. Go into Cleveland with a clean slate. The Browns fans should not have to carry this burden around as part of their fandom, because there are plenty of them that are now knee-jerk, tribalistic Deshaun Watson defenders for one reason and one reason only.
Yeah.
He's the quarterback of their football team.
That's right. Yeah.
And they shouldn't be put in that position.
Yeah, that's tough. You're right. It is. It's a very tough position. I do feel bad for them too. And again, I don't know. They're gonna. I think they might. We might be feeling bad for them for a while here, because I just don't see how this issue is going to come out very good for them.
Folks, don't get mad at us. We're on your side. If you want to get mad at anybody, get mad at Deshaun Watson for not settling the cases. Get mad at Jimmy Haslam for okaying the trade. Get mad at Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta for not properly seeing the way this was going to unfold, because, again, that's your job. I'm sorry. You get a job like Chief Strategy Officer, that implies that strategy is good, not bad. I guess it could be Chief Bad Strategy Officer. Maybe we need to change his title. But I doubt that they bargained for this, Chris. And you get each of the various individuals in the Browns brain trust below Jimmy Haslam, to tell you the truth right now, they'd probably say, I really wish we wouldn't have done this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.